Welcome to the Peace Building Podcast. Join host Susan Coleman as she interviews today's most creative, courageous, and sometimes outrageous mediators, coaches, entrepreneurs, and out-of-the-box thinkers whose work, whether intended or not, is building peace. Tune in for 45 minutes of pure inspiration as we explore the best stories, the best practices, the best ideas of a new world emerging. Here's your host, global consultant, coach, facilitator, and mediator, Susan Coleman.
Loretta, hey, good morning. Welcome to the Peace Building Podcast, and thanks for being a guest on the show. I'm so grateful to have you here.
Good morning, Susan. Well, I'm delighted to be here. It's great to be with you.
I have Loretta Raider, who is the principal of the Raider Consulting Group, which is a global firm which focuses on organization development and peace building. Loretta and I go back for a long way, I think over 20 years. And actually, the way I know you is my former business partner for many years, dear Ellen Raider, is your sister-in-law.
My husband's sister, Ellen.
And that's how, the intrepid Ellen Raider, who started doing intercultural negotiation training before it was even a thought in anybody's mind. And just made it up out of whole cloth. Anyway, Loretta also leads a couple of other things. She leads the Sierra Leone project team of Mediators Beyond Borders International, which I'm guessing you're going to talk about.
I certainly will.
And has a strong knowledge of group dynamics and organizational behavior, which I can attest to. Just a very person who's really, really grounded in that. And I was, and also that was interesting that you're one of the founding members of the Future Search Network, which I didn't realize that.
That's right. The Future Search Network is made up of people who have learned to facilitate something called a Future Search Conference, which was developed by Marv Weisbord and Sandra Janoff. Marv wrote a book called Productive Workplaces, and people started reading that book and saying, wow, this sounds exciting. We want to learn how to facilitate something like this. And he didn't even have the design for it back then. So we got together a group of people. We said, Marv, you have to teach us how to do this. And so Marv and Sandra designed a workshop. And I was in the very first training in Philadelphia. I forget exactly what year that was, but it was a while back. And I've been doing that made me a founding member because I was in that first group.
Yeah, Future Search is a really powerful methodology, and you probably, I'm guessing you might, I think because I know something about your story, you may be talking a bit about that as well.
Yes, because we use elements of the Future Search and certainly the principles. I use the principles in all of my work that I do, Susan. And in Sierra Leone, we did aspects of the Future Search. We only had one day, and it's usually a 3-day process, but it was wonderful.
Yeah, well, and just for the listeners, Sandra Janoff, who is one of the principals of Future Search, I think she's going to be a guest on the show in a little bit. So,
fabulous.
So, Loretta, that's a little bit, I think, and also you're in that cool city of Philadelphia, which is, to me, I don't know, I'm always jealous of the consulting community in Philadelphia. For some reason, it's just an incredible group of consultants that live there. I don't know why that is, but
we have some great people and new people coming in to the field all the time. Yeah,
but you also are the current president of Women International Leaders of Greater Philadelphia, which is women empowering women as leaders globally. Which that sounds. That's
a major part of my life these days as well, being president of a fabulous women's organization. We have about 90 women, and It's also a volunteer organization like Mediators Beyond Borders International. And just like our mission says, we work to empower women leaders globally. We do that through microfinance banking, empowerment grants that we give to nonprofit organizations in alignment with our mission, and service. We travel. We educate ourselves, have speakers on different women's global issues. So it's a wonderful organization, very unique. We're the only ones that we know of that do exactly what we do.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. That sounds fantastic. And I don't know, is there anything else that I've gotten feedback not to be going in depth in everybody's bio. I'm going to put that online. But is there anything else that you want to say about your background, and maybe particularly your professional background, that is relevant to the work you're doing today?
Sure. Well, for 35 years, I've been an organization development consultant, and a lot of experience at the United Nations, some of it working with you, Susan. I've worked in duty stations around the world, teaching collaborative negotiation and mediation. I think that, along with teaching at Columbia University, those are major aspects of my career that I'm very proud of. I've always done a combination of for-profit work in large and small corporations, as well as the nonprofit work. So that combination has I've had a great career, and led me into the peace building field, the work at the UN and Columbia.
Okay. You know, Loretta, one of the questions I really like asking people at the outset is a little bit about you personally, and how the seeds got planted in you for how you end up being here today as somebody who calls yourself a peace builder. I know that's a big question, but it's an interesting thing to think about and to track, and kind of how did you get here?
It is an interesting question and reflective, and I don't know, for some reason what pops into my mind is I remember when I was 5 years old in elementary school, in kindergarten, and we lived in a neighborhood that was changing. The demographics of the neighborhood were changing, and I remember there was a divide between the white children and the African American children, and as a little girl, 5 years old, I just wanted to be with everybody and couldn't understand why, when I was playing with the black girls, why the white girls were then not wanting to play with me. And I think it kind of goes all the way back to that, and just really wanting people to get along and be able to work more effectively together. And it just kind of tracked all through the years. And I guess my choice of, going into the field that I did go into.
So organization development, how does that connect with that childhood experience?
Well, I think it somewhat connects with...
What is organization development as a field? Maybe, if you could just give a pithy response to that.
Okay, well, organization development is, in my view, helping, and my vision has always been, or mission, to help organizations, at groups, teams, individuals, to develop and reach their potential and be the best that they can be. And that can be achieved through many, many different ways. My career has focused in several areas. One, leadership development, helping leaders to grow. That could be one-on-one coaching, or it could be doing a group program for leadership development. The other area was team performance, helping teams to be the best that they can be. And the third area was negotiation and conflict resolution, which since '98 I got very heavily involved in, and that led me to the peace building field. And then the last area that I have focused on throughout my career is large group processes, like Future Search Conference, open space, appreciative inquiry. These are all system approaches, bringing all the stakeholders in the room and working on either building the future together or a particular problem to solve. It has many different applications.
And that might be the connection to the early childhood, in the sense that a lot of those processes are really about building collaboration in different kinds of ways, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's kind of the role that I've played.
Building collaboration across difference, really. Bringing, across many different kinds of difference,
Yeah, and bringing people together and helping them to work more effectively together. So whether you're doing it with an individual, a group, or an entire organization, a whole system or country, you really have to be thinking about how everything relates and to be able to really pay attention. I like to apply that to peace building. I like the way John Lederach defines peace building. He says it's understood as a comprehensive concept that encompasses, generates, and sustains the full array of processes, approaches, and stages needed to transform conflict toward more sustainable, peaceful relationships. And that's what we're working on. Whether you're doing organization development in a corporation, or you're applying the same principles and knowledge and concepts to a country where you're working, post-conflict to build peace. The idea is to make it sustainable and to transfer the knowledge, to help the individuals to have the skills that they need to partner and work together and figure out who they need to have in the room to get the job done.
I remember. I remember that proposal you and I put in after the Civil War in Kenya. It was such a cool amalgam of things. Leadership development for the senior leadership team, doing some future searches throughout the country. As I remember, it was a while ago that we did this.
Yes, I remember. We were at some retreat, a retreat up in the Poconos. And we took time away from what was going on to write that proposal.
This is the open space retreat. It was the open space on open space, right?
Open space,
which is the annual open space retreat.
Yes.
So Loretta, let's get into, I asked you to think about a piece of work, or it could be a one piece of work or an ongoing project or something that you think would be useful for the listeners to hear about. And I actually don't, so I know you have something in mind. And so maybe we should just go for it and get into it, because as we know, time is always short, and this is like the heart of what people really would like to hear. So.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is tell the story of the Sierra Leone project, and I'll go through the beginning parts of it as quickly as I can, just to kind of give the context and the history, and then focus on our most recent intervention to help survivors and communities deal with the Ebola crisis. Okay. So back in 2009, there was student unrest and violence in Freetown, and that was while political elections were going on campus. And that was very much mirroring the elections, the national elections. And at that point, there had never been peaceful elections in Sierra Leone. And so the students, there was just a lot of destruction of the infrastructure, and a student died. And that's when MBB was called in. That was
Beyond Borders.
Mediators Beyond Borders International. That was before I was involved, and they did some really good work at the university, helping students and professors learn conflict transformation skills and some coaching that happened.
Hey, Loretta, not to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering, if you know some of the context in which this is all happening as well in terms of Sierra Leone. I mean, I'm going to now show my own limited knowledge of Sierra Leone, but I've just been in Liberia. Sierra Leone is in West Africa and is a desperately poor country in spite of its huge natural resources. I think mining, diamonds have always been a big source of wealth for Sierra Leone, and I think there's bauxite. I think there's all kinds of, but as a lot of the story often goes, a lot of that wealth does not go to the population, and I think I know it to be a hugely poor country.
Yeah,
and
totally.
And then I also know that the government hasn't, I guess it was a civil war, and post that the government has not been functioning.
I'll give you a few facts.
I'm sure you know a lot more about it than I do. Yeah.
The UN Development Index has 187 countries in it. Sierra Leone is 183 out of 187. It's a very, very small country, population of about 6 million. It's comprised of about 16 ethnic groups, each with its own language and customs. It's a predominantly Muslim country with an influence of Christian minority. 70% of the population lives below the poverty line. So this is a country that suffered from
huge natural resources, right? Like really abundance of natural resources.
Yeah, it has a lot of potential with the resources and tourism. And just as they were starting to develop and kind of get on their feet after, the Civil War, it's one thing after another. It's just this poor little country that just keeps getting hit. And the most recent big hit has been Ebola. And so it's very sad. But the bright side of it is I have never met a more resilient group of people that we have been working with, our partners, and really all the hundreds of people that we've worked with there they all want to work toward having tolerance and having peace. And our first big intervention that took our project from just focusing on a university in Freetown to becoming a national project was back in 2012. We went there to just do a needs assessment and at the university, and what we discovered was what everybody was talking about, what was on everyone's mind was the upcoming national elections. And the fear that there would be violence and the strong desire to have tolerance, to have peace in the country. They never, ever want to go through the kind of civil war. Everyone that I've met in Sierra Leone has been affected by the civil war. And that now everyone's being affected by Ebola. So it's really threatened the sustainable peace that we've been working toward and that people all over the country have been working toward.
Loretta, what was the popular movie that was Leonardo DiCaprio was starring in?
Blood Diamond.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was based in Sierra Leone.
That's right. It was based in Sierra Leone. So we found that what we needed to work on back in 2012 was to help to build unity for peaceful elections. And what we did while we were there, we went just to assess the needs, but Susan, as you know, you have to be flexible. You have to be spontaneous. And if you see an opportunity, you want to seize it. And so sitting on a bench at the university, talking to a student, Abdul Lebi, and he was repeating what we were hearing all day from professors and students, that there was this, we have to do something to build peace around the country, and
he was afraid that the same thing was going to happen again.
Absolutely. And so we were talking with these different peace groups that are on campus, and his organization is called Project 1991. And he said, well, we want to go around the country and see what we can do to build tolerance. And other groups were saying the same thing. So I said, he was an older student in his early 30s. Married
but
with a couple of children.
Through the Civil War, probably grew up in it.
Yeah.
And
right. So we were sitting on a bench. My co-team leader, Professor Debe Sunday from Liberia, the University of Monrovia.
That's a great name, Debe Sunday.
Yeah, not Sunday. Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said, with my background in large systems, and let's have a meeting. Let's get all the stakeholders that we can together. We were leaving the country on Tuesday. This was a Friday late afternoon. I said, let's get them together. Levy, can you help us get the people together? And over the weekend, he worked. And Monday, we had in the room about 25 stakeholders. We had students from a couple of universities, professors, other youth, community, women from the community, someone from the media, etc. We did our best to get as much representation as possible. We did elements of a future search conference. We did some visioning of what it.
Go, Loretta! That you actually were able to pull this, out of your hat so quickly, because it's not easy to do.
I mean, we just turned in. We just did it.
It's testimony to the fact that you are so fluent in this kind of methodology that you just could do it quickly. Yeah. So good for you.
Well, thank you, Susan. Thank you. And it was the right thing to do, because out of that session, we had students then travel around the country building a coalition of people that wanted to build unity for peaceful elections in Sierra Leone.
I guess it's also the benefit of a small country. A relatively small system that you were just,
Right. That's true. And so we went back and delivered large group dialogue sessions and conflict transformation training in 5 regions throughout the country the month before the elections.
So let me slow you down. The large group, can you say a little bit about what that was, what that looked like?
Yeah. So we had proposals from many different nonprofits around the country, and we analyzed those to see what were the common elements, and then picked certain ones to partner with us. We had to really work hard to have them understand that we were not a funding organization. Yeah. Mediators Beyond Borders International, we have to raise money to do everything that we do. And so some of the proposals were they were wonderful, but they were way out of what was doable. Yeah. And so we said, okay, we picked certain partners that we thought we could work with most effectively and that were in alignment with, our values and goals. And they did all the organizing of getting the different stakeholders. We gave them guidelines. We want police, we want military, we want political aspirants, we want women, we want students.
Basically, you were looking at, you were just kind of trying to assess who are the big groups that need to come together.
That's right, and we needed our partners to do that. They were extremely helpful, so we worked like hand in glove together to do this. But they did the organizing. They put out the invitations and got the people in the room. And the intervention itself they were full day sessions. The morning was a dialogue session.
How many people were in the room? Give or take?
About 50, at least 50 people in the room. Some had 75. And made up of these different stakeholder groups. And the dialogues, the type of dialogue, there are many different types of large group dialogue. We used the approach from the Public Conversations Project out of Boston. Dave Joseph is a colleague and friend from Mediators Beyond Borders International. But what I learned later from Dave, I told him, that we used that approach. And basically, you have a question that you ask of the group. And I think the question was something like, share an experience or situation about elections in Sierra Leone that have had an impact on you today. And people shared these experiences that they had, which were frightening and just unbelievable. And you give each person, a very small amount of time to talk. And it worked really, really well. And then you open it up for people to inquire and ask more of each other. So if somebody raises their hand, it's not for them to have a big speech. It has to be to inquire and want to know more about what somebody else said.
So there's a container and a process that they're functioning inside.
It's a very specific process. But what I learned later from Dave is that when they do the process, they generally break people into small groups. And he was like amazed. You did this. You did this as people. We sat in a big circle and passed the microphone.
Innovation, the way innovations happen,
Yeah, I mean, so that was fantastic. And then we had a traditional meal brought in. And then in the afternoon, we taught them some basic conflict transformation skills.
And what was that? Can you say a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, I mean, listening, informing the other, finding common ground. They did some practicing, giving them some models that they could work with. And then they went out after that day. This was all around the country. It was like the ripples, throwing a stone in the lake or river, or whatever, and the ripples just coming out. And they went to their communities, to their services, from their religious affiliation, their families. They talked to people. Some of them had hard feelings with people from the last election, and they went and had conversations and reconciled with them. So
that's
it had
hard
a really
to do.
big impact.
I mean, so you actually, because you had really a small amount of contact with them, as did the groups you were working with, and then these folks went out and they actually were able to be effective in terms of their engagement with other people in Sierra Leone.
That's because everyone was together on this vision of having, building unity for peace and really wanting to see peaceful elections.
Nothing it's interesting, that is a good example of having a compelling vision and lighting, kind of planting a seed around that vision. It sounds like you created a whole cohort, your group created a whole cohort of people that decided to embrace that vision.
That's right. I mean, a vision has to be big, and it has to be important, and it has to be relevant. And I think that was. So I don't want to just focus on what we did in 2012. Okay. I just want to say I'm delighted that the result, and of course there were many other actors in the country helping to promote peaceful elections. But I do believe that our project and all the partners and all the thousands of people that we worked with and touched from our project did help to create for the first time ever, peaceful elections in Sierra Leone. So fast forward to our most recent
Congratulations
work.
to all of you for your contribution to that.
Thank you, Susan. It really, really felt good. So then we did go back.
It's also great to hear, just as a just listening to it, that I think some of these things are doable. I think people just, I don't know. I just constantly listening to the news. It's so depressing listening to the news. It just seems like there is no way to do anything other than live in a world of just total destruction and violence, and that's a very positive example of something that wasn't that.
Thank you. So we went back and did focus groups with different populations. Went back to Sierra Leone again we were there several times, but for this project, the last time we were there, we went, I think it was in 2013, and we met with all of our partners. Some of them had never met because we traveled to go to these different sessions around the country. So we brought them all together, and we once again did a visioning session, asking the question, okay, now what? How do we build sustainable peace in Sierra Leone?
Sorry, so again, your process for doing that, like how many people did you have in the room? And
okay, we had from 5 regions, at least two or three people from each region. So we had about 15 people in the room, and we did a visioning process about how could we sustain peace in Sierra Leone, and what we came up with was we feel the best way would be through leadership development. That if you train the leaders in conflict transformation skills and in how to be the best leaders they can be, that they will then be touching, once again, that reaching out, doing it on the ground with the people in the country, that they will then be able to make the biggest impact. So we decided on 4 populations, and then we did focus groups with these populations. And the 4 populations are tribal chiefs who have a strong desire to learn additional methods of mediation. What they do as mediation, Susan, is more what we would call in the West arbitration. They listen to one party or one group, then the other group, and then they make a decision. And times are changing, and tribal chiefs have, their issues and problems in their communities, and they want to improve and learn some additional ways. So a mediation program for tribal chiefs, a leadership program for women who are empowerment and leadership program for women who are aspiring to political office, a leadership empowerment program for youth. And these are youth. It was so fabulous to sit with these youth that just want to do everything that they can to have peace in the country and have the country develop. And so what they almost all said, we want to work with the at-risk youth because they have problems in Sierra Leone, the same that we have probably in most countries around the world. So a leadership program for them to, give them the skills and help them to reach their leadership potential. And then the 4th program, a training for community leaders in a training of trainers, a TOT, training for trainers for community leaders. And then Ebola hit. And so we, of course, did not go to the country to do these programs. And, we were talking as a team and having a team meeting. I have a wonderful international team. There's 13 of us on our Sierra Leone project team. And if any of your listeners are interested, we're always looking for additional members if they're so inclined for our team or other members to join Mediators Beyond Borders and be a part of the great work that's happening. So we had this meeting, and we were just all lamenting, there must be something we can do from afar. What can we do? And the next morning I woke up with I have an idea. Let's do the training of trainers for community leaders online. We'll do that program online.
Cool.
Then they're in the country, they're in the communities. They can do some interventions that can really help to, heal, trauma and reconciliation, teach conflict skills, give a place where people can dialogue and talk about what's happening, bring the survivors together. So we started work immediately, and that's been a major intervention that we have done this year.
So just practically speaking, what you using Skype, or what were you doing? And
Well, we used a technology that Mediators Beyond Borders International has an account, and I had been on a couple of these meetings. The technology is called
Oh,
Zoom.
yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can have up to 25 people from all different countries and see them all.
That's so cool.
So it's a fabulous technology. The biggest obstacle, though, was the internet connections in Sierra Leone. I mean, communication in general has been the biggest challenge, for us working, with our partners in Sierra Leone, working with my partner, Debe, in Liberia, because the connections are not good. So Debe and I designed a 7-session course, 2 hours each. We did a lot of outreach with the partners that we knew to get the right people involved and participate in the program. We had to do a lot of tests. Some groups had to go to internet cafes, which were a bit noisy, but we had to persevere.
I think there's a real learning curve going on in the global population about how to mute your system, but in general,
Yeah, and they're not most of the people we work with do not have personal computers. Right. Everyone has a phone, but you can't have a teleconference with cell phones with all these people. Right. So it was very challenging, but we did it and we persevered. There would be times where it would take, 15 minutes till everybody was on.
Who would you have? You'd have 20 faces on the computer, and who were they? Where were they all from? Were they mostly from Sierra Leone? There were some from Liberia. You?
No, not from Debe from Liberia. But unfortunately, a lot of times he wasn't able to get on. So there were some sessions where he was going to be doing the teaching and the facilitating. And we always had very detailed guides because if one of us needed to cover for the other. So I remember one time we had somebody, they were upside down. And they didn't know how to get the camera. But, we did it. We persevered, and we did these 7 sessions. They included...
So of the 20, everyone was from Sierra Leone, pretty much?
So, from 6 regions throughout Sierra Leone: Port Loko, Bo, the northern region, Freetown, Makeni, Kanama, and usually at least 2 people in each of those regions would be together.
And I know that English is I think it's the national language, although people speak a lot of different languages. Was English, that wasn't so much of a barrier?
They had to all speak English to be able to do the training, be a part of the training. And they all are individuals who either head up a small nonprofit organization, or they do a lot of community work, live and know their community, because we wanted them to be able to do sessions in their community, to be able to diagnose, design, and then implement the sessions. So we gave them skills in group dynamics, in how to facilitate large and small group meetings, how to facilitate dialogue, specifically the public conversation approach. 2 sessions on trauma and reconciliation, a session on how to train others in conflict transformation skills. And the last one was how to present successfully. And so each session had some theoretical input, some lecture, and some group activities.
And how long were these sessions, give or take?
They were 2 hours each. And we did have 3 of my team members from our international team that do not have facilitation experience or training, how to train others. So they also took part in it. So there were about 19 altogether. And, the sessions went well, and, they reported that they learned a lot. And then to further their education and get them ready, each each area was assigned a learning coach, and the learning coach worked with the 2 or 3, or depending on the number. Like in Freetown, there were five that were trained, and I coached them, and I coached Port Loco, and then other team members coached the rest of the regions
on how to be a team coach.
No, they were coaching them on still to further their education on how to put together the design, how to, any questions that they might have before they go and facilitate their session. And once the coach approved, yes, they're ready, then I sent the money. I was back and forth to Western Union a lot of times during those months. But that was a very important component to the success of the program, was the actual having a learning coach assigned to each region, because it's, even though we did 7 sessions, 7 2-hour sessions is not a lot of time, but some of them had been doing some training, and it wasn't totally new to them. For others it was. So I tried to pair people up to deliver the program that, where you had at least one strong person co-facilitating.
Did you develop all these materials yourselves, or are these pretty much good for you?
We developed all the materials. We did a detailed design, as I mentioned before, and then that was something we required of each region. And that was a little bit like pulling teeth. I'd be on the phone with, with the people I was coaching, and like they would send me something. It would say icebreaker, because we taught them about icebreakers, or group activity, or lecture on, key points about. Or they wouldn't say key points; they would say information about Ebola. So it was like going back and having a dialogue with them, and I would say, look, suppose the last minute something happened and you couldn't facilitate, and one of the other facilitators would have to step in for you. I mean, Susan, from the work we do, you have to have a guide, and it has to say what the key points are going to be, where there's going to be a flip chart, or where, they weren't using PowerPoint, but they, if they were using a PowerPoint presentation, what the icebreaker is. You're breaking people into small groups. What is the question you're asked? Do they have to answer? What are they talking about? So you have to be very specific. And once we got the specifics and, people got their questions answered, then they put on these dialogue sessions throughout the country. And we've completed in 5 regions. There's still 1 region we're waiting to, for them to be ready to deliver. Some regions did 2 sessions, some did 1. They were all full-day sessions. Some were with survivors and other members of the community. They tried to follow the model and get as many stakeholders that should be in the room. And, to deal with issues, there's a lot of stigmatization happening,
around Ebola or around?
Around Ebola survivors. And not being integrated back into the community.
Is Sierra Leone Ebola free at this point, or still no?
It is Ebola free. And so they did these dialogue sessions. They went really well. They were not all the same, because each region had to assess what they thought was needed. So 2 regions did a session in schools with middle school students. And, that was really, really well received. The principal and the teachers, they sat in and they wanted to learn as much as they could about dialogue and, conflict transformation skills and whatever was in the content of each of those sessions. So, 1 session was just for survivors in Port Loco, where they were the hardest hit. And all of the regions are now poised to do more of these sessions and more follow up on the ones with the people that they've already worked with, as well as new sessions, very similar to what they already did. They're ready to go. And we don't have the money to give them to be able to do it. And that's the hardest thing for me as a team leader. For them, they call me, Loretta, we're ready to go. These sessions are really needed. They're so helpful to people. So that's what we're working on, Susan. We're working on funding.
So summarize again. So the impact of this, your hoped for impact of this will be what?
For this
whole initiative.
Well, for the Ebola related sessions, or for all this, for the Ebola, let me say it's because it's twofold. One is, was to give the community leaders the skills so that they'll have these skills forever. To be able to keep working in the community, working towards sustainable peace, whether it's issues of Ebola or other issues. Right now, the main thing that's happening is to get the country back on its feet, move, economically and socially. And these kinds of sessions are imperative for people to be able to feel comfortable again with their neighbors. And
when was Sierra Leone Ebola free? I know
it's very recent
because it was still when I was in Liberia. It was still going on, and I was in Liberia in June.
Oh, wow!
So
yeah. And then they had more cases in Liberia, but so that's what they need to do now. That's the immediate need, and we need about $50,000 for them to do another 8 to 10 sessions in the different regions. Overall, our goal is to return and do those other 3 programs that I mentioned for tribal chiefs, for women who are political aspirants. They have an election coming up in 2018. That's not far away. If we can get the women the training, a lot of women, they have a quota system in Sierra Leone of 30%. For women in office.
But there has to be 30% of the representatives need to be female?
That's their goal. And so sometimes women get elected who really do not have any background, in governance or, rule of law, how to be a leader, how to run a meeting, how to assert themselves, all these different things. So, they need confidence building as well. So we want to go back and do these programs. We have partners all around the world, that want to help, but for some reason we're just not getting the money and that we need. So I'm just putting it out there to the listeners.
Okay. Send funds now.
Go on Mediators Beyond Borders International.org and learn more of what we're about. You can click on the Sierra Leone Project. You can click on to read more about it. You can join MBB, join a team. But if you don't have time to do all that, you can do your part by just making a donation. And if you make a donation to if you want to make it to our project, which we hope you will, because we have a real immediate, urgent need, you have to specify when you donate that it's to the Sierra Leone Project, so that it will go specifically to our project.
So, Loretta, what are you feeling most excited about now about all of this? Because your excitement is palpable. If you had to articulate, your excitement about your vision for this? You started to do that, but it'd be interesting to hear where you see the potential for all this potentially going.
Well, we talked a little bit about Sierra Leone being a small country, and I think because it's a small country, we really can see sustainable peace in this country. because we have so many people who want to see that happen and work toward making that happen throughout the country, and partnering with them. And so I think it's almost like it could be a case study for how to build
peace. Well, it was a question I had for you, is that, of course, nothing is in a vacuum, and neither is Sierra Leone. It's surrounded by, by Guinea and by Liberia, and it's an international actor. And maybe that's another larger conversation about, can it control its own, can it be a role model, or will there be will there be different kinds of forces coming in from the outside that could either enhance that or get in the way of it?
I think there's always different forces from the outside, and I don't know that we can control that. I love my son, Brad Raider, who is a meditation teacher, reminded me of this metaphor. I mean, I think peace has to start within ourselves, for us all to be more peaceful inside. It has to start there. But if you look at the metaphor of a green forest, each individual tree makes up the green forest. And I think we all have to work on ourselves, but then we have to work together to make that green forest. And I really think that that's possible. I love the African proverb, Susan. I think we've even used this together. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
I put that on the wall in many team interventions.
Yeah. I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that we have to all work together. And if you're in this field of peace building, you're in it because you have a strong desire to see change in the world. And but we can all do what we can do individually, and we have to do whatever that piece is, whether it's work on a project, do this work full time, or have another full-time job and donate what you can to help others on the ground to create that green forest. But I think it's possible, and that's all we can do. We can work together with the partners on the ground, because you cannot have a successful project, peace building project anywhere, if you're not doing that. You have to have an integrated systems approach, getting the right people on the ground, considering all those factors that you were talking about from the outside, because they're there, but we can't control. You can only control what you can do yourself, really, and draw on your experience and expertise. I came into this as an organization development consultant, a little differently than many other peace builders. And what I would just say to the listeners, use whatever skill sets you have to help make things happen.
One of the things I really myself so appreciate about working in places like Sierra Leone and Liberia is how much people appreciate your assistance. I mean, I think it's just can be so rewarding about just the spirit that people can bring to the work and the appreciation they can have for what you can offer, whatever you can offer. Yeah,
that's really true. Yeah, I love the people in Sierra Leone.
So, Loretta, any? I mean, I think you sort of did just give some parting words of wisdom, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. It's been a really, really rich conversation, and so exciting to hear about this piece of work that you've been doing. Really, it really shows how you just you can come in and I think what's standing out to me is the infrastructure that you so easily were able to create, because there's so much energy and so much desire among people for some good assistance and their desire for a much more peaceful society, because Lord knows they have really, really been through a lot of hell, too much hell.
Yes.
Not something we want anybody on the planet to be going through. So anyway, so I don't know if there's any final words of wisdom or anything you want to say about how to reach you? I mean, I am obviously going to put your bio up.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I would, certainly welcome any feedback and ideas, comments, and always happy to talk to people who are interested in moving into the peace building field or in the peace building field who might have some ideas to share with me and with our team. So I welcome hearing from people. So certainly please share my email.
It'll be on the website. Yeah, it'll be on the website.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
really,
Susan,
really
for this
appreciate
wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Peace Building Podcast. Check out thepeacebuildingpodcast.com for show notes and for more great information and resources. We'd like your feedback, comments, and suggestions. Please email them to susan@thepeacebuildingpodcast.com. And come join us again for next week's episode for more great thinking, innovations, and ideas to take our planet to the next level.